So Kelly, what's your level of familiarity with a game called, wait, what was it? Doom.
So I originally thought, and I think it's when I discovered I was dyslexic, can't speak either. Um, I thought it was mood, and I thought, oh, this will be like kind of a relaxing thing. And then, boy, it's not. It's not relaxing at all. I've become familiar with it over time. Somewhere during the 47 other episodes we've done on Doom, I think I gained some familiarity. So I'm actually kind of a big fan. And you?
Oh, definitely. Not to sound all hipsterish, but I was definitely an early adopter with those shareware episodes. But of course, one of the more interesting variations of Doom that I really didn't come to until later was Doom 64. And it was actually the PC release of it many years later. They remastered it and put it out for PC, and that's when I got into Doom 64. I only recently got a Doom 64 actual physical cartridge for Nintendo 64, and it is so dark playing that game, but that's a different story.
Yeah, it is. Super super dark. And uh and so yeah, I recently got Doom 64 too, and Diddy Kong Racing, and Beetle Adventure Racing, and Skateboard Kids too, Snowboard Kids rather, and Snowboard Kids too, and a Scooby Doo one of some sort. So um
Scooby-Doo
so
is great.
it future show, we'll probably be revisiting that topic in a future show. But um but yeah, I definitely agree that uh, I like the game. We'll talk a little bit more about Doom 64 in a second, but the gameplay. But my goodness, it is a dark environment, and you can go in and change. There's a gamma slider on game options, and um, I, correct me if I'm wrong, folks, but I'm pretty confident it's not connected. You can slide it back and forth, and as far as I can tell, there's no different. Because like bang, right out of the first level, you're like, okay, I'm pretty sure something's coming at me or about to come at me. I can't see where from, and it's a mess. But yeah, and doesn't seem to be correctable. And I haven't really tried on my projector to see if I could just like crank up the brightness on the projector and try and compensate that way. But man, it's the to me the biggest drawback of what otherwise is a wonderful, slightly different take on Doom.
Yeah, it's a fun variation on Doom. I strongly recommend it to people. I really strongly recommend picking up the remastered edition because you can see it. It's still very dark, very atmospheric, but you can see everything, and that's great. It looks and sounds and plays fantastic. It's also pretty cheap. I think it's only about $5 or something like that at the time we're recording this. You can get it on Steam, Switch, PlayStation, all that good stuff. So, and it's pretty cheap. So, definitely worth checking out the remastered edition. It also has extra levels and things like that. Because Doom 64 is supposed to be a longer game than what we got on the cartridge, but because of the limitations of the cartridge format, they just ran out of space. So that's where the game ended, kind of thing. So you get more levels and things like that, and things that they would have done had they the space at the time. What's interesting though, while Doom itself is known now for the amazing community behind it, and while I'm a huge fan, I'm definitely not a modder. I've not spent a lot of time trying to make Doom run on things it shouldn't run on, which is a whole world in and of itself. I just enjoy playing the game. But only more recently have I seen people kind of do things with Doom 64. And I don't know if it's just because maybe it wasn't as popular when it first came out, or if it's just the kind of complicated architecture of the Nintendo 64. You just don't see people messing with it the way they are every other version of Doom. Not just the PC version, but we've talked a lot recently about what people are doing with the 32X version. There's an official reworked version of the Super Nintendo version coming out from Limited Run Games, along with the people who originally worked on that, a kind of remaster of that for Super Nintendo. So I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that people do to kind of tweak and tinker with these different versions. But other than that Night Dive remastered, it doesn't seem like anybody's been touching Doom 64 until now, as far as I've seen. And that was through a Sega Lord X video that I came across, and his stuff is great. If for some reason you guys haven't seen it, you should go check that stuff out. But somebody took the Nintendo 64 game and made a port of it for Dreamcast, which I thought was really interesting. So, are you a Dreamcast guy at all?
So really no direct experience at all with the Dreamcast outside of really wanting one. There's a period of times like, yeah, I really ought to get that. But because they don't kind of early adopt on a lot of those things, it became fairly evident in the not too distant after its release to kind of go, "Well, maybe I don't want this." It seems like it's going away.
Yeah, it didn't have a particularly long lifespan. Unfortunately, that was, until the mini consoles was Sega's last official console release that they did on their own. It's really a direct result of the mishandling of the 32X and Saturn releases. They just lost consumer confidence. So when Dreamcast came out, even though it was really well reviewed and the people who had it really enjoyed it, I remember playing it at people's houses and having a lot of fun with it, but the consumer confidence just wasn't there. I wasn't going to go and put hundreds of dollars of my own money into something when I had already been burned by Sega.
Yeah, I mean, but of all the gaming consoles out there and all the versions out there, with the exception of the yet to be released Bog Boy, um, I don't think there's a better looking gaming console out there than the Dreamcast.
It does look good. Can absolutely say that. Having seen it in person and held it and touched it, gently caressed its edges, I can say it is a good looking console. My uncle had it, so I did spend a little bit of time playing Dreamcast. Again, it was a lot of fun. I just, as somebody who was burned during that whole 32X Saturn debacle, I just wasn't going to put my money into it. I was firmly on the PlayStation side at that point and rode that out for a while until I made the jump to Xbox after I played PlayStation 3.
Yeah.
But I will say, this is something I'm very interested in because I really enjoy Doom 64, and I hope that more people are working on stuff for it. I wouldn't expect it to get the kind of, fan base the PC version has as far as, modders and everybody who's doing everything with that, or even the 32X version. While it might sound crazy, the 32X version, whether people love it or hate it, is probably the most talked about port of the game. There are better ports, there are way many worse ports than the 32X version, but that's the one that gets all the attention. And I think it was just because it was the first port to come out technically, and 5 people owned a Jaguar. So even though most of the ports are based off of Jaguar, nobody knew that at the time. I've even watched reviews on big channels talking about how the 32X one influenced other ports, when in reality, that's a port of the Jaguar version. So they didn't even know that the Jaguar version is where all that came from. And I didn't know that until I played it for myself and delved deeper into that. So hopefully this kind of cracks that door open a little bit. I haven't played this myself yet, but I do intend to. You?
Yeah, I do. I'm looking forward to it, and there's a GitHub link that's in Sega Lord X's video. We'll include it in ours as well, where you can kind of get a little bit more of saying, so if I want to try this out, what are my options? Since probably most of you don't have a Dreamcast kicking around the house right now. Um, and good for you because otherwise Mike might try and break in and caress it. And no one needs that. So that could be a problem. But yeah, I want to do this. I wish Doom 64 was brighter. I really liked kind of the upgrade of the creatures on that. Much better. The pinkies, I think, have big improvement with those. So it was. I think that stuff was pretty cool. And then we get a Saturn version that kind of not only continues forward with those improved characters, but the ambient lighting, the whole, you get closer to almost like a ray trace experience. And we talked about a ray trace version that's out there that's just fantastic. Everyone needs to get that and play that. Pardon me. Everybody needs to get that, play that. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna dig a little deeper because this does look good, and the fact that I could play a fairly close to Doom 64 experience, actually expanded and better in some ways, and actually see what I'm playing, I'm in.
Yeah, 100%. So if this were a, I guess, skip it, list it, download it, where do you fall on that?
I'm gonna download it.
Yeah, I'm gonna download it as well. This is a no-brainer for me. It's gonna be a lot of fun. There's a seemingly working pretty well Dreamcast emulator on Super Console X, so I'm looking forward to throwing this on there and seeing how it performs. Again, I can't stress enough, everybody should check out the Doom 64 Remastered Edition. It's cheap to pick it up, legitimate copy of it. You'll actually be able to see the game and really appreciate everything that's in there.
And that's Steam's probably the best way to go after that.
Steam is what I got to throw, and again, it's on sale a lot, but I think even the regular price for it's like $5.
Yep. Yep. So yeah, so that's a bonus buy it for me too. I haven't done that yet. So
Definitely worth it. It's got the whole Nintendo 64 game all remastered, so you can see it, and it has all those extra levels in there as well. So
very cool. Excellent. All right. Anything else to add on this show?
no, I think that's it. I suspect you guys will hear more about Doom from us in the future.
Bog Panda.